Hi, I'm Ashley from Sunny Made, and we are on week 3 of the Ultimate Beginner Quilt. Hello friends, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. We are on week 3 and we are making a very basic beginner quilt. This series is for all those that are starting to learn how to quilt, that have been quilting for a little bit, that like to see a finished product from the beginning to end, and maybe even a more intermediate or advanced if they just want to do something simple or are looking for a baby present. So let's talk about size of quilt. Last week, so week 1, we went over materials and supplies. Week 2, which was last week, we went over cutting our fabric out. You should have cut about 48 squares from each of our 3/4 yards. And so we should end up with 144 pieces. Ultimately, we are making a 12 by 12 quilt, which is going to end up being 48 by 48 inches. But because of the way this quilt is laid out, you can actually make it bigger or smaller if you want to. If you happen to get yardage, a full yard like I have, then you can actually make it bigger. Just go ahead and cut out the rest of that yardage and turn it into squares for your quilt block. Now, for your quilt. Now, if you don't want it square, you can move those squares around and you can make it a more rectangular quilt. So today we are going to talk about laying out our quilt, and I'm going to show you how we're going to sew our rows together. Okay, so go ahead and get your squares. They should all be 4.5 inches square, and we are going to go over to a place big enough that you can lay out your entire quilt. Okay, we are at my kitchen table. I have cleaned it all off. Kind of a surprise right now. And we are going to lay out our quilt. So we should have 48 of our blender fabric, 48 of our large print fabric, and 48 of our small lighter color fabric. If yours don't look like mine, that's okay. I want you to have 3 different colors that look like they go together, and they will look good together in this quilt. Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to actually do this so that our pieces, the same fabric, are going in a diagonal. And so we're going to actually just start with the first one, and we are going to lay this out. And I am just going to put it on the diagonal. The thing with this is it doesn't matter which fabric you start with, because on one side you're going to have one color and on the other side you're going to have another color. It does not matter. So here I have my first 2, 4, 6 pieces. We are going to have 12 go across and 12 go down. This is going to end up a 48-inch square quilt, and it is going to be 12 by 12. So then I'm going to take my next color and I'm going to put it to the left of every single one of these quilt blocks that I just put down. And then we're going to take our next color and we are going to put it right next to that first one and on the opposite side. So we are just going down. It is time for my orange color, and we are putting it on the diagonal right next to the last one that I just put down. This is super easy. I want to make this easy for you. I want to make this easy to put together, and I want you to be able to have a quilt that looks so nice when it is all done. Now, this obviously is not the only way that you could lay out this quilt. You could start and do a diamond in the middle. You have one color in the middle, put 4 around it, put the next color around it, and go out that way. That would be super fun. But I'm going to teach you this way. Okay, what is our next color? Blue. Blue is our next color. And we are just going to keep laying it out this way until we have used all of our pieces. Okay, what I have laid out here is the first half of my quilt. I have 6 going this way and 12 going this way. My table is not big enough to put it all together, but I'm gonna start here and go from there. Honestly, I just need 2 pieces that look just like this, because if you notice, I have white up here in the corner, and the next one right here is going to be white. So if I lay this out and I sew this together and I lay it out exactly the same, I'm going to get 2 pieces that go together and are perfect. So what am I going to do at this point? I am going to sew them together in rows. And I'm going to just start at my top row, and I'm going to gather them up just like this. The top one is my first one, and I just always set it on top of the one next to it. Okay, I'm going to do it all the way across on this row. I should have 12 pieces in my pile. The top one is the one on the left, the bottom one is the one on the far right, and this is a whole row all the way across. What I'm going to do now is take my row, and I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew my row together. Okay, what I have here is my pile that I just took off my kitchen table. My first one is the one on the far left. My bottom one is the one on the far right. So what I'm going to do is start by sewing my pieces together. I'm going to take my first one and then my second one right here, right sides together, just like that, and I'm going to sew them together. I'm going to trim off my thread. I have a trimmer here, but I also always keep scissors handy in case I want to just trim them with my scissors. Now I open it up. Okay, if you remember, the white was my first one, the orange is my second one, and what should come next is my third color. I'm going to take my third color, put it upside down, and right sides together on that second color and sew it on. Okay, now that we have our first 3 colors together, we always know what comes next. What comes next after the blue is the white, and then the orange, and then the blue. And so I'm going to go through this pile right here, and I'm going to sew all the pieces together in a row. Now I have sewn all 12 of my pieces together, and I have a nice long strip. How you will know if you have them in the wrong order is the pattern is going to go in order. So you have white, orange, blue, white, orange, blue, white, orange, blue. I feel like I'm a preschool. My preschooler watches videos like this. White, orange, blue, white, orange, blue. I know that I've gotten all these pieces together if they're all in that same order. Okay, now that I have this one all sewn together, what I'm going to do is take my left one, my first one that I did, and I'm going to pin to it. This is just a little sticky note. You can use a piece of paper, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to pin to it on that first piece, on the far left piece, number 1, so I know this is row 1. I am then going to take my next row that's out there on my kitchen table. I'm going to stack them all up for all 12 pieces. I'm going to bring them to my sewing machine and sew them. And then I'm going to put the number 2 on that row. And I'm going to do that until I have 12 rows all sewn together. This week, our assignment is to just figure out your layout, and you're going to start by sewing just the rows together. I kind of wanted to break this up into 2 pieces so that it doesn't get overwhelming and you can understand the concept of nesting seams and putting a whole quilt top together. So once you get your layout all figured out, you're going to start by sewing them into rows. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them down in the comment section below. I try to check my comments about once a day so that I make sure and come back and answer any questions that you might have. Also, find me on Instagram. My handle is Ashley_SunnyMade. I would love to see what you're doing. Tag me in your quilt. I want to see what you're doing and see how it's coming along. And so next week, once we have all our strips together, we're going to sew all those rows together, and then we will have a completed top. So that is week 4, which is next week. I hope you have a great week and happy sewing.